The states were unwilling to give the necessary data we needed. Data on land administration, data on the process, data on the steps data on the time for a start. There are all kinds of basic data that are required for business analytics for any part of an investment decision. Constitutive thinking is that if we are going to rely on government to do this going forward, it's going to be difficult. The collaboration that we set up under the General Estate Data Collection and Management Program floundered and stopped because to give us to drive investment in their state. Second level of activity which we decided to use, which we are going to still employ to do, is that we are going to have a peer review information. If you are unwilling to give us information and get information from what the Mayor mentioned, though many more can get those information, it will take more time. But at the end of the day, in our publication, we'll be able to give an analysis of friendly to data collection. We'll be able to give zero information on states and let people know that this state is very big. It's a walk in the dark. It's a dangerous walk for you to go into a state that you cannot dimension the transaction. So that is our problem. But we must find a way around it now to get data that investment fund succeed.
Thank you very much for giving us that question. Any other question? Okay. Madam, Mrs. or Chief or Doctor. That will be the last
Hello.
question, please. Sorry.
My name is Christabel Iwagu. Sorry, I intended to ask this question yesterday, but you actually brought it up. Again, this has to do with women, and that's we don't want housing. We collaborate on collaboration. But yeah, it has yeah. Sorry. Um, the issue with women having issues getting housing and financing. Uh, is there any way to maybe issue? I don't know. I know today has to do with data collection, data.
Okay. Our friend from Stanbic Capital.
No, no, it's like that. No, it's all financial institutions. I've taken, that seriously. Standing for one, gender equality and it's an increasing global demand. There are interventions, not just beyond zones, it's also business empowerment. So various forums. So you just need to seek and you work on the housing part. If I think about it, you focus on sponsors and institutions. So it doesn't matter whether the woman is doing that. So an example is just one of Africa. I also know that there are funds that some funds that keep coming from also they look at companies and they're checking the qualification to see. So there are initiatives driving the work that they
I feel when it happens, like reflection, those of our ladies that are migrant, those that have more than one child, they have problems in UK, security. And because you have more than one. You have to look for somebody who either is both in the established and who that payment, everything, like standard of single ladies. It's not today. As early as 1990, female that have no husband houses. So it's not anything new. But they have been having um, bypass. Yes, people like them. And they are go ahead and they make life. So it's not anything that is criminal. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I think we come to the end of this.
Sorry, can I?
Time to talk.
Okay. Yes. No, but I think that that's challenge. Not only from sex excitement, married that there is no mind of having here. We all have this. We have a good number of them, I think, and at no point have we, discriminated from one to another. So I need to put that. I need to put that on record because we need to have there. The Federal Mortgage Bank, they're going to process you, or the Ministry of Land is going to process your document. They're not discussing in many of the programs you're going to say, oh, I don't think I can do this, but I think it's a war. But it really is not. Done this, the data we are gathering, we talked about data, mining, inflation, and all that what we long or the solution around them. So they engage on these levels, take the message out. It's key. Single ladies, also, let's not also just know. They also have income. They're earning a source of income. So let's push that message forward. We are collaborating. We're saying collaboration is not with everyone. Open group and secure.
One that says not going to allow me.
Thank you very much. My name is Benga Babadi from Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. Last speaker, um, at Federal Mortgage Bank, we don't care if you're so that's just by the way. But the real question I want to ask is data. The last speaker there, I mean, every organization in Nigeria, they capture data, for example, immigration, custom, even at Federal Mortgage Bank, process data, we capture data, central bank, some decisions are sharing data. If you ask me to give data of my customer, your GDPR, not at liberty to share data. So that's why, because if I share your data with another called normalization of data, but those protection acts, they are serious that you can get sued. So now, how do you work around those GDPR as it with you. Not done right. So that's where people need to be careful. Thanks.
Sir, the fact is this. Federal Mortgage Bank is sit on the data of the National Housing Fund as of today. More than that, in their data, also Mortgage Bank why are we talking of regulations that we have to us? Not this names of the why are you giving people where you have not done the economic analysis of to buy those houses? You're not releasing the data, you're not releasing the economic analysis, but you will be willing to release those development those people. You're not shooting yourself in the leg. So I think we need to come out and begin to see the collaborate. We can see how we can make sure that we then at unraveling the potential and stop encouraging the losses and huge PDOs as do applications on the so I'm happy to answer that. I'd like to take that. Some of us spoken about we cannot keep on hiding obligations to harm ourselves and harm the group.
Very much for that clarification. I think Benga, this session is I don't want to add that the CMA in Canada is is one that is the direction of data management because some of the data you call private is not private. There are some information you can choose to promote development of the country. You are hiding them under bureaucracy. Problem AFDB is internal. External. The internal ones are some of these issues that should be sorted out within and comfortable for Nigeria. The other one we talk about is we work together to free you from your parents. Those are that one is external. I'm not doing anything about. Take home for collaboration, trust and transparency. These are issues that we have to continue to work on. And then
Thank you. Please, can you take the group picture? Two sessions have just been concluded. Real estate data management system is sine qua non for success. The tool unlocking the potential. And here, emphasize and re-emphasize that collaboration is key. And for there to be collaboration, and once again, a round of applause. And for the moderator who was brought up without prior knowledge to do that, and he did a very good job. Thank you, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, go straight to the next. Please have we go straight to the next segment, and this one will focus on housing Nigerians on low income framework for action. Thinking about this, I just remembered the National Housing Program, which was flagged up by the federal government. How many folks, and thereabouts. That is not feasible. So this assure you that you'll get or gain something from it. Please listen carefully. I would like to call On the moderator for this session, this third session for today, no other but Jumoke Adegunle, Managing Director, Master Builder Solution, one of the board members. Please a round of applause for her.
Very much. So I think I have a tough session today, this afternoon. To moderate when everyone is tired of sitting down and listening. So I have a special rate to give the panelists 5 minutes today to speak. How does it? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Can I have your attention, please, for the next session? So I don't man up that you're not so hungry tired. This is the family homes. Family homes has been the Family Homes Funds Limited for a few years now, where they have a special session for always bringing updates to us. The topic today is housing Nigerians on low income, a framework for housing Nigerians on low income. Anyone in housing, this is the most providing houses to home income earners. And for this session, we've got a speaker and 5 discussants. So I will start with the introduction of the speaker, who is Inubi, Research and Innovations Office, University of Lagos. Welcome on stage, Peter. I would also like to invite Mr. Adeyi Ode, Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. You're welcome, sir. I would like to invite back on Professor Olumide Olusonya, please. Professor and researcher at University of Lagos, Department of Architecture. And town planner Nathaniel Atebije from the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners. And Mr. Sani Yakubu, Chief Housing at the Family Home 100. And last is somewhere in the is Dr. Roland Binoba, Housing Company President, PropTech Nigeria. You're welcome, Dr. Roland. So while Roland makes his stage, I would just like to introduce topic years ago. However, in a country like ours, which is a developed country, we have a lot of low-income earners. These citizens at the base of the pyramid struggle to afford a home. So with this responsibility of building a home for citizens at the base of the pyramid, hearing from our discussants today, and funds is creating opportunities for us to have affordable home for low-income earners. So the purpose of the session, as organized by, is to focus on frameworks that will rapidly aid Nigerians of low income to access. So today we will hear from our keynote speaker, he will introduce the topic to us, then we'll give a chance to share with free and house low income earners. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. You do when your passion is the people that were considered and that's a great mistake that we're doing, that we're making. There are a lot of things said since yesterday. Now, as much as possible, not to repeat. Because if I have to to my slide, I will have to repeat so many things. So, I just want to appreciate the organizers of this uh, program, Barrister Fest. For one to bring different views, different generations, uh, different sources. Like people, we just parade as achieve nothing. And the person that sat beside me when Professor Olusoya was presenting his work and the person sitting back said, I've been traveling to Ocean. I never knew we have such. And we have seen, we've had people from fintech who have spoken about great achievement that we have achieved in this space. And I want to really appreciate the last session. And what we lack that we not succeeding as individuals, but we not working together. Some said, want to go fast, work together. So we try to go alone, we are going fast, but we are not making visible progress. And there are things that we say here that really try almost getting to conclusion that we don't need government. So frightening. It's so frightening. Please help me. Yes, the first the slide on the nation, the why nation state. Why nation state? Recommending everyone first to attend this program. And why we are where your efforts in life, you cannot make progress. I want to tell us that many people that have suffered and succeeded in this country built houses in good estates, 3 or 5 years, they've sold on that. My sister was inside the train in England, coming from Heathrow, and two white ladies were discussing midway, and they were discussing in a mat. They didn't hear. They said, "Look at them." We were pointing to myself and a friend. He said, "Long ago, we go there, we capture, we put them to say the world shouted, we stop straight." He said today they sell their property for themselves. They sell their property, buy tickets, and sweep our streets. That's the truth. We can never say we don't need government. This book is about now. And it's not Alagbado. We are part of Epe. We have Lagos, Epe, Ogun State. The same way this town held between America, Arizona, a town in Arizona, and fell in Mexico. And you can see across the border the difference between the area to US and you in the area into Mexico. And Ayano was worried. The same group of people, the same food, the same culture, the same sunshine, the same rainfall, the same land. Why? It's the institution that the nation has built. It's the institution, it's the institution, the infrastructure that runs the system. And it traces to North Korea, but at the level of development for despotic government and democratic. So, no matter how hardworking we are, if government fail to perform its role, we can never make progress. So we need them. We need them. It's to justice that we should. 2006 in UK, and someone from South Africa came said, "Listen, your country, no water, no city, no good road." He just asked me every day in UK, am I right? Okay, people protest. If you put 2 cows inside one box, people protest. There's always protest. It's leading to reputation and good governance. But we don't have that. And we want to conclude that we don't need government. We need government. We need government that will make our efforts that we have been displayed that will make work. We start with the last, go to the last slide. Those who have good sources of their callings that are seated here, I will give them opportunity to share their experience with us. So, last slide. We don't do that. We need government. Okay, let's start. Affordability. We're talking about affordability. And the minister said there is no affordable steel, there is no affordable cement. Nigeria, and that was is sung for 8 years that there can never be affordable housing because there is no affordable steel. There is no affordable there is no affordable sand. There is no affordable cement. But what is affordable? What drives affordability? Let us just demystify it. Let's demystify it. People have some low income people. I kept that several years ago. I built my first house. Went to Nitel to have telephone, and they gave price that was almost the amount I built the house to bring uh their Nitel line. So I would buy almost 10 coils of cables and all the rest. And we all know how we were groaning. Luckily came the first of wireless, big, but it brought big relief. And when Multistreaming came, for 180,000, nobody near it. But the day they said, come and pay 50,000 and pay 10,000 for 12 months, and pay 50,000 and pay 10,000 for 10 months. That makes it 200,000. Pass to the people were queuing to buy it because they asked them to pay 50,000 and pay 10,000. That's affordability. Their income has not increased. The cost even increased. But people could afford it. More people went for it. That's affordability. Affordability is a function of three things: cost, income, and term of repayment. Cost of the house. Let's say the cost of the house is 5 million or 10 million. Every professor in University of Lagos says we can afford it. But if you increase their income almost 1 million per month, they will be able to afford it. They can't afford it because of their present income. But if you increase their income, they'll be able to afford it. If you reduce the cost of construction from 5,000 to 2,000, from 5 million or 10 million to 2 million, then if the same house that is 10 million is, if people are able to get 25 years, that they will be paying 150,000 every month, affordability is there. So the question of affordability is income of payment and the cost. Now, what do we focus on as a nation? Focus on the cost. I was in the board of federal. I was in the board of Habitat for Humanity. Asked one room class then in Nigeria was going for $9,000. It was $2,000 in Israel. But why is the cost high in Nigeria? The cost of construction is high. Why is the cost of construction high? Most of our products are imported and they are subjected to exchange rate and inflation rate. 60% of our cost of construction of our building materials were imported. So we need to look at the construction cost. When we look at the construction cost and we break it down, it is in. Why we have this, let us increase income from 18,000 to 30,000. For 5 years, only 3 states were able to pay. One of the states that were paying refundable, they said we could not afford it. So increasing is no go area from experience. Let's do that. I had yesterday somebody saying that we off-gate for 5 years. It's not mortgage. Mortgage is minimum of 20 years. So we need to grow that. Immediately we are able to resolve that, affordability issue is resolved. Low income working class was just focus on that were presented in this program. That if we can work together, we can break down technology using all these things to really drive down the cost, grow and industry must be grown. Let me tell you something. What is mortgage? Mortgage is defined as the second most impactful innovation in America after the steam engine of 18th century in Europe. Mortgage is an invention. It changed the face of the world. And that's why when there was subprime and the bust in 2007, the world ran into trouble. Mortgage is things that we have to focus on. As a nation, we have to grow our mortgage. One thing we also have that I kept on saying that all over the world, people build houses, but in Nigeria, they build houses. More people build in Nigeria. All over the world, they buy. In other climes, rich people, you are the ones that build celebrities. But rich people are the people buying in Nigeria. So we have to change the culture from I want to build a house to want to buy a house. And I kept on telling our real estate colleagues that we have to put our hands together because now own children, they will not build house, they will buy house. And that is what is happening now. That's what is happening now. So, right there, I'm going to gap now. Because the cost of houses is because of this. Let's say 5 years. This civil servant, regular worker, they don't have it. And this is the wealth of the nation. But it's big fault. It's a big fault that developers must tap into. We must just not focus on this 1% of educated people. We will soon mop it up. We have to devise means of reaching or designing things that will reach these low income people, which are demand. Will not be invisible. That's why you see all these high-end projects vacant all over Lagos. So, how do government come in? The person can put 2 million. Now, the effort the political finance is through the gap through the loan so that land. And that's exactly what Baba Jakonde said is necessary to provide an infrastructure. By the time you remove land and infrastructure from cost of construction, you focus only on the materials and the cost of building materials, the price will come. It was able to sell the flat there at 3,000, 4,000 naira. The model has not changed. So government fund the land and infrastructure. And that's why, how do they do it in England? Go to the last slide now. In England, the so-called low income, for many years, we are putting them in the council. And it became a social problem. Rioting, the Brixton riot of 1986. It became a big problem. There were suicide rates, high homicide rates in the UK. And what did they aggregate economy? As recent as about 7 years or 8 years ago, English partnership was in charge of land. Okay. Housing corporation provides finance. But as recent as about 5 or 7 years ago, English partnership and housing corporation they became one. And what they do when housing corporation approached the housing corporation, said the British government will give you land, and they give you land, they give you sort of little fund. Housing corporation will give you little fund, and they will tell you go and build and give us 20%. So if they give an assumption, called let's say per here, if they give them 20,000, they give them money to fund 20,000, 2,000 housing units. At the end of the day, 20% of it comes to them. That's about 400 units. And you see in England today, a bus driver getting a council house, this community development, important good development that buy from the market buys for 1 million pounds. This bus driver, through document, gets his own for 200,000 pounds together. Laws are the same. Windows are the same. They use the same lift. That's when you think their own low income people. High income earners subsidy the low income. And all of them were living together in this community. Learning from the history of segregation and the uproar that they've experienced. As one sees why I am showing this slide that 2007. This was the presentation with President Basojo. And lucky enough, the coordinator and the lead of Mr. Femi Adewale happened to when we put this together. When we are saying collaboration, what we have here, housing development fund, what we do as family homes fund, we see development agents. The development agents are the ready. Then we see the end user aggregated in cooperative. And that's the language that we are hearing today when we say crowdfunding. It's cooperative now. They call it cooperative in Nigeria. They call it association, building association in UK. They call it building society in America. Every nation in the world was driven to cooperative. They can call it. What would be building society? They started as building 40 people, but today they are big bank, commercial banks in UK today. But they started as building society of 40. So the housing cooperative, the nation, the so-called low-income people, there is strength in when we aggregate them. All this, they are 5,000. By the time 1 million people to drop 5,000, it becomes of money. So by the time we aggregate them into cooperative through FMBA, PMI, they were saving right to the account of PMIs. And that amount is securitized through securitization back into the housing fund. But up till now, these organizations are working inside. That's what we have to do. This was a presentation at 7. And after we presented, they stood up and gave us an invitation. It was for the end of Basojo. It was a for us to give this nation a blueprint, a roadmap towards social justice. And by the time we gave the first standing ovation, and they said, Obasanjo said that day that this division that we believe and we stand for on our way out. And he said, This supposed to be a task force. They now tenure the board and made it that go and implement it. But unfortunately, the change of government was for our state, and we are still where we are today. It's not position because we drove this system, and that's why when you get to FHA, to Federal Mortgage Bank today, the language they are saying is cooperative society. Cooperative society. It was a model that we tested. We used civil servants cooperative in Uyo to build this system, and we make sure it works. Like I was saying yesterday, we can this thing. We can't do it. It's so easy to buy trade. You can buy trade, transfer of money, but it takes years to track. Building our mortgage is the building of the track. It takes years. We have to be patient about it. We miss it. The mortgage culture, the credit culture, we see it in the Taishari People's Bank. It was to introduce People's Bank to introduce Nigeria into credit culture. But unfortunately, those who started it, the, the generation that took over missed out. Mortgage bank can never work where there is no credit culture. But we need to, the nation, government, use activities, use whatever, use activities to show them that see they will do it. I 2 3 weeks ago I was in Poland and I was asking for the way to the bus stop. I'm finished now. I was asking to the bus stop and I saw a police person and he asked us after directing himself and my wife, he said, where do you come from? I said Lagos. I said Nigeria. He said, where? And I said Lagos. He said, I've been to Lagos several times. I said, wow. Like it. I never got to experience the place. He said, I was a pilot before COVID. And when they fly us to Lagos, they switch us to Sheraton. And we are under instruction to go on the road. It was it. That's what we called it. Nobody will come hearing such stories to invest in our economy. We need to build security. Many years back, somebody in a meeting was telling us that he has a site in this Abuja, down inside. That as at the time he was talking to us, to get to his site, he has got 200 million dollars, and yet we spend 200 million. In a man that does not know, you are not at your work, and you say that you don't need. It's the responsibility of government to provide road that you as a developer you concentrate on your work. That is the way we must go. That is what I believe, that we have the joint responsibility to make the government for government.
Thank you so much, Prof. As always, um, food for delivered very strongly. Thank you, sir. So we're privileged to have two professors from the University of Lagos on this panel discussion. So I'm going to take you to discussions now, and I'd like to start with Prof. Olusoya. Designing for low-income earners. What must we do, sir? You may have a seat and use your mic. Is that okay, sir? Okay, sir. No problem. Please put up the slides.
I have to start by apologizing. I was one of the people who said this morning that we learn to take our destiny and go back and work. So I have been properly. I'm one of those who say that we are all leaders, and that if we say the failure of leadership is about government, that it doesn't work that the people who get leadership. Okay, it is that some of us are advocating from the bottom up, and people are advocating for top down, and I found that it's equilibrium that can cause out of this mess. It is also important that yeah, sometimes we have to go too far, go like Professor who will now call us to order, and we meet somewhere in the middle. We will make progress. Like this. Um, Learning for now, the problem that I have is that the attitude about designing about low income housing has been one of lowest common denominator. And one student once came to the office, he was working on the master's project on low income proposal. And I said to him, would you live here? He said, no. I said, get out of my office. He said, was like, now, yes. So I see and can't believe that school for 6 years and they come out and this is what they're designing. But let me tell you something. Maybe I'm going too far again, but whenever you see a good building, it's first of all about the client. It's first of all about the good client, not about the good architect. A bad client will not find a good architect, and if he stumbles into one, he would not let him do his work. Now, architecture is civilization, but it is not about architects. Go to San Francisco. San Francisco is not about architects. Go to Cape Town. It is when a people are cultured, they demand a kind of environment and the professions perform. It's really that simple. It is that simple. If there is no pressure on the professionals, if it is all about lowest common denominator rather than the highest common multiple, we're not going anywhere. That's number two. I the analysis that the professor made about affordability, I can't, I just can't believe this profession for so long, and well, I know that cheap, anything cheap is must be avoided. And my own emphasis, rather than low cost, has always been on cost efficiency. Okay? But so I just left affordability about alone. And the lecture I had just now has just really thoroughly humbled me and educated me. Thank you very much. Yeah, but in that one that I have laid my fingers on, cost efficiency, the issues are this. Next slide. There is a science to just about everything. A knowledge base. Not be dealing with emotions. Must be dealing with knowledge, and there is a science to housing. Now, it boils down to this. Peter and Alison and Peter Smithson, architects, talking about practicing in England in the 12th century, have this set of principles about housing. Um, the house, the shell. I mean, I'm just trying to lay down the principles of good housing, and whether it is for low income people or for high income people. These are principles. Low income people are human beings too. So let's get the fundamentals right. Okay, this is the house, the shell, which fits man's back, looks inward to the family, outward to the to society, and its organization should reflect this duality of orientation. There is poetry in it, and I just like poetry of expression. And it says the street is an extension of the house. In it, children line the world outside the family. I have come to the conclusion that the street is the most important sociological invention. The street, an extension of the house. In it, the children learn for the first time the world outside of the family. So when you have estates and you throw houses all over the place, and there is no sense of place. Why? Now, the thing, even in the villages, things are not that way. Anything that does not bring human beings together. Next slide, please. Um, Next slide. A human being, though an individual, is like to actualize his nature in relationship with neighbors. Hence, the physical element must reconcile the variety of needs, privacy, as well as community. We strive for autonomy as well as interdependence. This will translate into the needs for IT and levels of identification. The need for identity, that is the individual, the family, it starts with the individual, the family. That's house. And then the next level of association is our street, our square, our neighborhood, our there must be this sense of power. Whether it is uh, whether it is for poor people or for rich people. In fact, when you have these houses by rich people that have 3 meter walls and then another 2 meter, they are imposing. Really, human beings are not designed to live that way. The evidence of a dysfunctional society. Something has gone wrong. Something is wrong. Next slide, please. Now, all ages and places is an architectural feature for organizing this duality of orientation from the family to society, as well as modulating the progression from the house to the street. So this is articulated in Paul Newman's defensible space. Public, private. The street is so, and I find that the thing is even that on estates roads. Now, you see, yes, um, the government has to provide roads, but I find that um, if you have an estate, let the government provide the road to the estate. Okay, when the government does that, then within the estate, if people want to just throw houses all over the place, they cannot have good infrastructure, and then that becomes their problem. But the government cannot be responsible for irresponsible housing design. Cannot be. So when you have 3 kilometers of road should service 100,000 people, and it's supposed to, you are now making it to service 100? No. And infrastructure is important. So important that the sites should be paved. You don't have to pave the roads themselves. In fact, within the estate, have a well graded road, have drains, and then put stone dust, and compact it well. Once you put the drain and you have the curbs, it holds the stone dust, and it probably means that people would not be able to speed. Don't make the roads too wide. But the sidewalk, oh, you should have sidewalk. People should walk, for God's sake. How do you have a community people do not meet on the streets? In my design, I have a fetish about my housing design. I seem to have three fetishes: the street, air, and light. The street, air, and light. I mean, next slide, please. Okay, about the road. See, if a phenomenon is universal, that means it is fundamental. That skill is at a period to society. In all ages and places, the touch is perennial. All time and places. I mean, look at that one, the rural. You always have a touch. I see low income housing all over the place. You you find a door, no porch. Why? Goodness. There must be that transition. There must be a relationship with your neighbor, for God's sake. Porch. Now that's the that slide. Okay, down. It's a village, and there is you. It's not very rich environment. It's one clean. Two, it is safe. Those children, because there is actually this at Abule Oja. What it used to be because I used to live at Abule house sometimes on campus, and people can walk through. Now, if anybody makes the end of the adults just come out. So what happens with environment like this is that a threat to one is a threat to all. A threat to one is a threat to all. And here lies the basis of security. If you think I don't have people with AK-47, no. A threat to one at every scale of the society. A threat to one is a threat to all. Next. Okay, the suburban. So you have that duality of orientation. I mean, see the walk and then the house actually averting just the side. The it is so critical. The sidewalk and then the street. Next. Next. This is the concept of the street even at high level, in high development. In a high rise, you can have streets. And this combination, um, I call it the science of an energy efficiency in housing, optimizing natural light ventilation, and greenery. Okay, next. Look at it this way. Um, the traditional face-to-face, okay, you have along the corridor. There must be a reason why this is so popular. And the reason, obviously, is that it is good use of land. Okay? And in this place, you can't disregard that. You can't solve one problem and then disregard all the others. Okay? But there must be why it's so long. Perennial. Next slide. Okay. So what I have done, okay, for street like here. So what I do is street, you can see, and then you put light wells, and by pushing the blocks away, without having this circulation along the wall, you can actually have, you are actually able to open the windows, you are actually to have sort of, and that's the translation of that. Now we are seeing we actually build both sides. Okay, um, a project at Oniru Estate, a club, I mean, a, um, a cooperative for 50,000. And club stands for come, let us build. That is Genesis, Genesis 11. Come, let us build. In any society, when I mean, the Lord God whatsoever a society do shall not be simple. Then, when we come together, so this housing estate, some people, 10 people came together. Um, the land at that time was going for about 20 M. That was in the early 70s. 10 M was a lot of money. But 10 people, it comes to about 2 M percent. And in developing this together, they have an optimal, something that they could not afford individually. They are people who are working together, are 4 bed houses. Now, the issue, like I said, about design is not whether it is for low income or high income. The difference between low income and house in the prime urban has to do with the level of finishing. But the design must be good. Why would I go to school for 6 years? I'm all this time and I cannot perfect my craft. So the issue, design. If it is good design, it is good design. And that's just so funny. So these are the now what you have here. You have these street levels, and then you have the stairwell area, and then you bring in the light and the air from the top, since you cannot open the windows on the side. Next, first, good, the principles of good design, okay? Whether for low income or high. The issue now is, can it affordable, at least that aspect of affordability that has to do with cost? Because whatever you do, whatever you are able to do concerning provision of land or finance, what should build 1,000 houses should not be building 100 houses. There is no financial engineering that brings us out of these woods if the cost of construction is not made able. And one of the things that will make it feasible, I find developers and factors who complain about the level of poor level of work, and some are giving up. Now, the problem contains one solution. When you talk about poor level craftsmen, the thing do is that you design technology that makes use of very unskilled labor. It has to be more sophisticated than what obtains. Okay? So it means that at the level of the professional, you are using your brain for God's sake. You have to. Please, let's go back to the last slide. So they spend 5 years training to be block layers, and at the end of the day, are laying 100 blocks a day. Okay? Because those the machines for making the 100 blocks, they are not sophisticated. But by just investing a little bit more in those in the product, so emphasis now has to be a change of paradigm from building materials to building components. So when you have components, they just interlock like Lego. If children can put Lego together with precision, brass can put blocks together with precision, which is to say that the whole attitude, the whole paradigm shift is from what is called based methods to technique methods. That's just it just boils down to that. Um, you can see on the left is a technique-based method, high productivity technology that enhances labor. Then on the right you have low productivity craft-based labor. It is so wasteful, so wasteful. So that methods that we use that makes everything efficient, and that has to be combined design and technology. And housing and not the housing design is not one thing and technology no. That must be a marriage. That's that's the solution. You have to be a marriage. Factory production. When you have if factories are producing a product, that product, the cost of producing it is married with the product. So that has to be orientation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prof, for listening. So we've been taken to school by two profs from the University of Lagos. So now I would like us to hear what you really know about these low income families in Nigeria. And I would like to start you from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics to give us some insight on that.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm actually standing in gap for this gentleman. I am honored to be in the midst of the professors. I was actually taking notes when Professor Olusoya was talking. The first professor, when he was talking, I was actually listening. I thought I was hearing the lecture. And you touched on so many points. For the low income, I would start first of all by saying, which I'm sure we all know, that we have very high percentage of poor Nigerians. We have over 40% of Nigerians who are poor, below the poverty level. And according to our records, these are we based on our surveys carried out in 2018 and 2019. It's called the Nigerian Living Standard Survey, and it touched on every aspect of the living standard of the Nigerian: their income, their living condition, education, health, and what have you. And we discovered that indeed many people are poor. So that classifies them as who are in the working class.
we have about 52 Nigerians, 52% of Nigerians in the working class, and that's between the ages of 15 and 64. That's the group we classify as um, workers in Nigeria. And how many of these people earn much? They form part of these 42% or 40%, over 40% of Nigerians who are poor. And how can they afford these? Many of these people are living in a one-room apartment, some in two-room apartments with so many occupants. I actually go down here. We have two-room dwellers. 31% of the households we interview live in two rooms. That's 31% of Nigeria, supposedly. And in one room we have 24.5%, and then about 20% two bedroom, I mean 3 bedroom, and a lower percentage in 4 bedroom. What about those who are homeless? There are so many who are homeless. Some of these people own these houses, some don't own, many are renting, and for those who are renting, we have a very high percentage. I will look at the renters. We have 49.2% renters in the urban area. And based on what Professor Lusoya said, I mean, it is. Sorry, may I get Professor Nobi? Both Professors Nobi and Olusoya talked about affordability. Most of these people can afford, but they are supposed to be able to afford the house. Yes, even if you are supposed to rent, it should be at an affordable rate. So even this high percentage of renters are struggling to rent. So where do you place them? How do you get them into the home owners category? That's a call. But I want to say good news for them. Professor Olusoya has signed and delivered the fact that he says they belong to good housing. So maybe that is hope for them. Unfortunately, I don't know if it is with authority he has done that. You see, so this group of people need homes, need houses. How do you get them across? Unfortunately, they are low income earners. I'll tell you something. Apart from even living in homes either rented or owned by them, what is the standard of living? What is the quality of these houses? That's another information we gathered. It's called the Nigerian Living Standard Survey. It's a 2018 to 2019 survey we conducted, and it touches on a whole lot of this information. Indicators are wide, and this survey is conducted within a 1 year period, so we can actually determine within various seasons of the year, the income capability of these people. Okay, for instance, if we use December, for instance, to measure the living standard of the Nigerian, you say, Nigerians are enjoying because there will be a lot of rice flowing and chicken. Come in January and you see hunger and poverty. So how do we get houses for these people? Many of them, I'm a civil servant. Let me just digress a little bit on my personal experience. 3 days ago, I told one of my colleagues that I need a break. I'm actually tired. I want to rest so that I can go and think about my life. She said, "What's the problem? Can you share with me?" I said, "No, not really a problem. I just want to rest." The report is asked, "Is it what are these issues you want to discuss? Do you have a house? Do you own a house?" Now she's drawing me into issues of life. And I said, I don't own a house now. I have a land. It's not developable yet, but maybe I will in due course. So you can see, she is saying that one of the major problems that affects a man, I'm being personal. I just 50 last month, precisely 1 month ago. She thinks that's one of my worries. Yes, I'm someone who doesn't really worry about this, but doesn't mean that you must not put things in place. So you can see that for the average Nigerian, the big worry is housing. And then for those who are aging, it's a worry. Okay, this class of workers, which we say is age 15 to age 64, those who are even in threshold of 55 to 60, 64, if you don't own a house at that time, then you are in a danger mode. So we classify them as working class, but they should have owned a home as at that age. Now we have a high percentage of Nigerians who are below 20, about 52%. We should be looking at these people being homeowners as they work and for serious statistics. We have got another living standard survey again starting from this year. It's going to run for a whole year and we'll be measuring the living standard of people. We actually cover up to like 25,000 households, the last one. But I bet you we make it's currently two surveys we are conducting now. One education delivery, service delivery for all, and we are covering so many institutions. The National Agricultural Sample Census, we're actually covering so many households. It's a household-based survey. So some of these surveys we may up and expand the framework to about 55 to 60,000 households. So this data is reliable because we collect real time. And I think it will help developers if you go onto our website and see the details of some of these information data we have collected. It will guide you to the line you wish to go. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Odi. I mean, this was later today. I have read the last one that was released, and I found it interesting. The living standards report, and quite informative as well. And 52% of Nigerians working. That's definitely a big market that we within the working age. Yes, that's correct. Um, what each one. Okay, so we know low income earners are who we're working to build houses for. So I would like Vice, Town Planner Nathaniel Atibi to tell us the land use planning for these low income earners. Thank you.
Good evening, participants. It's a pleasure for me to be here to discuss, along with other discussions, the issue of provide low-income housing for Nigeria. I first of all want to observe that the issues we are discussing, particularly about the low income in Nigeria, is a function of the conspiracy of the rich. Now, the rich have decided that the low income people who they want to use just like battles, but at the end of the day, they continue to live in their wretchedness. And thank God that, like Professor Nubi said, that we cannot run away from government in the issues we are discussing. And if the rich who are in government who are holding to power says that the only way to develop is to do it haphazardly, then there is no hope for the poor. Now, uh, one of the cardinal issues that makes it difficult for the low income to enjoy affordable housing in Nigeria is one, location. That where these people are located is not put into thought. And how do you do that? It is first of all to plan. There is no concept for how land uses in the city or in the rural area or any human settlement should be organized. and where there is no organization, I think the only thing you can expect is chaos. And that is why when one administration or one government and they say we want to provide 1,000 houses or 10 million houses in a year, the next thing is they are going for land. And where they are going to get land is in a place that is actually not accessible. Like, our colleague was saying that somebody had a place that he had to spend 200 million before he gets close to that place. And where will people live there? Who are the people that are going to live in this? And so the location, which is a function of planning, must always be put into thought. We are all witnesses of the Shagari housing program. Most of them were kept in bushes, in places that people could not enter. And at the end of the day, it was only left for rodents, for reptiles to go and live. And that is what we are doing for the 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 low income in our society. Now we must have to plan. We listened to one of our colleagues presenting earlier talking about a GIS, and the improvements that some state governments are doing now. Fine and good that it is to know the amount of land and the quality of land, the extent of land that you have. But when you don't plan it, and the challenge that we have is that many of the times the government slows you down. What the GIS experts will tell them is that by the time you know the amount of land you have, and it is you place them into various sizes, and you begin to sell, they will tell you they are going to generate not less than about 5 billion in 1 year and about 200 billion in 1 year, and everybody is swept away. And then the job of managing the city becomes a piecemeal approach, and that is also the haphazard nature, that we talk about land. I mean, talk about the location of the people. So I say again that the challenge or the predicament of the low income in terms of housing today is because of the conspiracy of the rich. Now, what do? When we come to terms with the realities that we find on ground, it is important that we make plans for such places, for where the low income will stay. The rich needs the poor. Poor also needs the rich. We're designing part of a town for one state government, and we try to put a playing field between the Millennium City, they call it, or the Millennium Quarters, which they call it, and the poor people. And the governor said, look, no, this thing is going to create problem for us. I said, the fact that you don't want to have this field between the two of you is what is going to create problem for you. Like late Chief Awolo would say, that the children of the poor that you are refusing to educate today, they are going to be the challenges you have tomorrow. And the reality of this is on the ground. The reality of this is on the ground. And so if we refuse to plan, we're going to sleep in our bedrooms as a high income tomorrow. So we must purposely decide to plan for them. Now we must take them into our communities. We must live to the people must live together. It was only colonial, for them to separate the workers' nation from the white man's nation. Time has gone beyond that. We cannot go into a second level of slavery or colonization by separating the people from the rich. And so, let us make plans for them. The plans should be in places that are safe. They should be in places that you can provide infrastructure. Let me give an example of what happen perhaps not only in Abuja, but also all across the country. When they want to give land for, because the high density, presumably for the low income, you give them several 50 in some places low, and you say that you want between 6 to 8 families, and then they design to expect in this place more or less things that they cannot afford. But I think that you need larger spaces that you can accommodate, you know, perhaps you can have not less than about 50 to 70 people on a plot, and in such a place, you can provide all their needs. The cost of infrastructure will by far be less than when you are giving each person 450 square meters and 600 square meters for each person to build his own. What do we need? Do we need houses or we need plots? Now, let us make a choice. Now, the loan, they need houses, and let us emphasize giving out of plots.
Thank you so much, sir. I think one of those locations is see rich need the poor, poor need the rich. I mean, these are things that I think we grew up hearing, but sometimes we forget. And it's a reminder for all of us. Thank you so much, sir. Um, top, I would like to invite Mr. Roland to tell also a bit more meeting needs of Nigerians in terms of options. We've talked housing. So what are the housing options for people of low income?
Okay, thank you very much. So I think that a lot has been said about low income housing. Over the last, I would say I have been doing research on housing. We have created house price indices across 4 states: Lagos, Abuja, Kaduna, and Rivers. We do extensive reports on the state of Lagos and the state of Abuja housing market. Those are the two states that we the last report being 2018. I'm trying to set the background for the conversation that I'm going to have. The Nigerian Living Standard Trust on everywhere that report, people are always appalled and saying, how are you coping with that? Now, the issues around options for low income people, say, I want to say that at the pyramid of housing, okay, and look at the demographics. There are a category of people, whether you call that housing needs 17 million or 20 million, there are a category of people that if a house were 100,000 naira, they still won't be able to afford it. And those guys are at some at the basis of that. So it makes sense for to try and provide social housing. And I think social housing can still, but I don't want to go into what social housing is about. When you move up, and I'll categorize those people at about 30% of that, of whatever the housing gap that I'm creating. Now, when we did the housing report, the housing market in 2006, it arrived at the need for 2 million housing units. Since 2016, we haven't done that research. Hopefully, we'll do the updated version of the state of Lagos housing market this year, sometime around November. That report will be out. Now, we move on. There is something that works currently that we haven't formalized. As of 2016, our reports told us, and Abuja says that the number of Nigerians who build their home by themselves between period of anywhere between 5 years is around 82.9%. So I'll say this again. A lot of the people build their houses over a period of 5 to 12 years. And this at the highest number of supply housing told the market. But we have ignored this period. We haven't formalized them. So what happens is that I pay for a piece of land, okay? The following year, I say, you know what? I just bought this land. I'm not going to stress myself. I won't do it. The third year, I put a substructure on that land. Take it on to lintel level, put roof and all of that. My dad built his house like that. People still do that today. Our report for 2017 says that the organized private sector in terms of developers only build about 11 stuff. So what am I trying to say? We need to formalize micro housing, microfinance. Okay? And housing microfinance simply is some sort of financing for incremental building. Now there are two levels to this. You might want to take a loan to buy the land. When you finish paying that loan for buying the land, you then take another loan to build one room. When you finish paying, what I'm saying is not rocket science. It's done across several clients within the region, especially in Africa. Mexico have mastered this, Colombia have mastered this. There are several other transition countries, and emerging countries who have done this. So when you ask me for option, I'm saying that there is housing microfinance. I see Mr. Adesemoye in the room. I know that they had a program during the World Bank transaction we had. So Mr. Adesemoye, maybe at some point you want to throw light to housing microfinance in Nigeria. Okay? So you can have that incremental build again to be able to increase the supply stock because people build like that. It just means that I can build my one bedroom. And I need you to understand the way. So we've seen slums, we've seen all kinds of slums across the country. And what happens is even if you go to the slums now, you will find that there are owners of those units. Now with housing microfinance, it doesn't mean that you're building on. What it means that you set the authority and building planning from the municipality. Okay, allowing you to build one room when you have the money, go to 2 rooms, go to 3 rooms if you have the option to do that. What I'm saying is people build like that today. Okay, a lot 87 and I put past to that. So what we need to do is whether it's the mortgage bank or it's housing or the microfinance institutions, we need to analyze that. Home improvements, and all of that. So that's an up. Now the other thing I want to talk about is cross subsidies. Okay, crop in Mexico, for example, you cannot get approval. A developer will not get an approval unless you say to the government that 20% of this development will fit into the category of affordable housing that the government has stipulated. So what it means is that if you do a development, 100 units, 20 of that unit, no matter how much you sell one unit for $1 million, but the government will tell you that 20 cents of this development must fit into $50,000 for $100,000. So you rob it to pay more, and this must work. But a government can only do that if you have provided the necessary infrastructure and support for that real estate development. So I think along these lines. Then another thing that has worked that we have also not considered. And that I think right now, government or private real estate developers look at how sustainable they can drive it. Already, I know two tech platforms which is building around this program. Is the fact that government reservation area where land and government provided infrastructure. What we are saying is that you can still sell land to people and allow them to tell. But what must happen where you are provided land should be an area where infrastructure again has been provided. So, and if you look at the people who need housing, they currently, I'm talking about the low income, currently live in spaces around 15 square meters. If you provide 100 land, and I'm talking about organized parcel land, for these people to buy and then build increment. The key word is that this must be organized. They must have building permits and approval, must be properly planned, and then these people can then build. The interesting thing is that today, and I don't want to go into macroeconomics, right? But today, the dollar is seven. Yes, the dollar 110. Whether you can check our book and below the app, okay, it's 710 naira in the parallel market. Official rate is out, maybe 420, 416, 417, right? How many parts in the room get official rate to buy their building materials? How many? None. Okay, so if we want to provide housing or we want to have low income options for people, then I think that along like something that we must critically, and passionately try to deliver along those three lines. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Roland. You touched a subject that is personally close to my heart, which is microfinance, also microfinance, incremental housing, formalizing. You actually threw a lot of ideas out. Thank you so much. And we've heard from our professors and we've heard from the discussants as well on who these low income families are, who they are, what we know about them. We've heard from the statisticians, all they have available. I encourage us all to website. We've heard from the town planners how we need to plan for them. Now, before I invite Ms. Yakubu, who is working for Families Funds Limited, which is an organization that actually caters to these low income earners today. Before I invite him, because he is going to tell us actions that have been executed, I would like to invite, because my indulgence has been created of this, and I would like to create yours as well, to invite a corporate organization meeting since morning to speak to us for 5 minutes only, please. 5 minutes only. And then we will hear from Mr. Sani Yakubu. So I invite ProTechnic Consulting Limited. 5 minutes only, please. Thank you very much.
I would also put to speak out of my heart, especially for the made of this world. Because I'm marketing here my own company, right? Well, they're coming to low housing for to food, talk about trust, talk about trust, I get a lot of the government. You mentioned some situations in UK about social life. And also in Germany, let's say for my private trust, in my opinion, to create quality, quality, family of 200 was their time for sure, not the richest house, not the richest, but everything what we are creating in Germany, Black is for long run. For long run. Even the poor people. So let's say me, I'm investing in but I'm getting for months loan, get it in a for a low interest, but I have to provide housing 5 years for people with a low income. The government is creating a kind of construction that private investors are able to build, put their own money, say 15, 25, 30%. The bank providing the lower interest, and the government is doing it. So you need a network of all parties to create a lot of buildings. So I was not the only one investor. We have many people who did this. So when you brought these points, I checked just the internet how many people in Germany are owning a house. It's just Switzerland has 42. So all these other people are not poor, are poor, but they have the possibility for lower rents in this house. Yeah. There's a point how you calculate what is poor or not poor. No, then you have maybe low income, but in 10 years you have a higher income. So you make yourself investment. So you need to bring people to one level. That is maybe the point I will put little bit marketing. Hefele is a black voice company becoming here 100 years old. Yeah, we're celebrating 100 years. In Germany, we have 90% private based family companies who are old. So, this age, a company will create more by quality, by trust, long relations. So, that I'm telling. Because when people are saying German products are expensive, they are not. Because you need to look on the run. Yeah, we all enjoying the German cars. We know they are proper engineered. We know the German products, they are properly adjusted. Yeah. But it's not for rich or maybe. I can tell you, I'm walking for the richest Nigerians. They have all have in the house. Yeah. In Germany, the poorest people have also have in the house. Yeah. But not only the poorest, also the richest. Hefele, that is everything about housing, door locks, so everything what you have on your wall, on your floor, on the ceiling, it's a very big package. So everybody is invited to have a short technique in our time together. But for us, it's very important that you're walking for a huge market. It's not restricted to our investors who are stable, funded for the long run. The last for how many times, how many years are you doing the same daily housing? So when I think my house, then I have to look at calculation for a year. Of course, that may be yeah, but calculating for 8 to 100 years, that is a long run. So I think also we are talking from low housing and housing in general. Everywhere. So it's not short investment, it's go for a long run. You are taking that is good. Yeah. You cannot dedicate to the calculation for so thank you very much for being over 6 minutes. So you're invited to visit us in our stand and of course we have a lot of interest. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for being a true German, Mr. Sani Yakubu.
So I really didn't know how to feel when I realized that I was speaking during the graveyard session. And then there were two professors on the panel, and then a very good number of very well informed professionals. And to make matters worse, when the first professor came and pounded on the need for government to be visible, to be citable, to be present, and he just created a burning classroom. What is government? Family Homes Fund was created just about essentially 3 years back. So we've operated since 2019, 2020, 2021. In those 3 years, the first thing we have about is about 14,000 houses across 11 states in Nigeria. In a country of 200 million people, that's a drop in the ocean. But I think that this is the number that anybody that wants to compete will use. And we welcome all players to join. Why was Family Homes created? And who is Family Homes Fund? Family Homes Fund is an affordable housing fund. 3 years ago, when we started work, the first model was to build directly. But very quickly, the delivery risk that is inherent in Nigeria's construction sector started to threaten the sustainability and existence of it. And decision was taken to become a lending fund instead. So today, what Family Homes Funds does is to provide funding in a sustainable way that allows players in public and private sector to contribute towards the housing stock. Our principles are to be sustainable over the course of the next decade as a fund, to ensure that critical impact is achieved, and in doing so, to employ systems of operations that are above board, that are transparent. Would like you to check that in the last 2 years, Deloitte has audited our accounts which have been published. Yesterday, we were at the House of Representatives and made an offer to the House of Reps Committee on Housing to go around the country and check the work that is done. The strategy behind the work that we're doing. So, when I listened, I heard a lot of what we're doing resound. The first thing to driving affordability is to attack the cost of capital. When you're looking at critical price push factors, capital and competing for pride of place as number one. So Family Homes Fund is currently playing in the market interest rates of between 9 to 10%. This may not be the best, but it is currently the lowest. What have we done with regards to that? When we started business, it was thought that state governments will not be cooperative with regards to providing free land. I guarantee you, visit our office will show you certificates of occupancy
from 24 state governments for almost 2,500 hectares of land. So you tick the box on the cost of capital and you tick the box on the available land, and you're making some degree of progress. We then look at the technology and the style and the means of building. And we say, let us build homes that are simple, that are decent, that can be maintained efficiently by people on low income across time. So we go for designs that are simple, that are replicatable, and that can easily be maintained and sustained in those areas in which they're being built. And also in terms of design, we try as much as we can to allow the local nuances and culture to impact what design is. We've also found that buying in bulk and setting aside a good proportion of the total cost base to buy what you need tomorrow today is a way to stem inflation. So 25% of our cost base goes towards buying in bulk. We've also found that negotiating with big producers, and this is what we started doing, will help to stem prices. So our principal partners we've been talking with, and we guarantee you that presently we have very significant price concessions for set. We've also gone into discussions with the Association of Wood Processors so that the windows and the doors and all other wood elements can come to those who are building for us across the country at reduced prices because there are numbers to back. Now I can go on and on and on, and all I'm trying to do is just explain the behind trying to deal with the issue of affordability. Nigeria's housing sector, unfortunately, has the dimension of challenges on both the demand side of the value chain and the supply side of the value chain. And because of this, our product package consists not only of efforts to put in place housing stock, but it's something that augments the ability and the capacity of the party that wants the beneficiary, the off-taker, their ability to afford the house. So, on the supply side, we have affordable housing. We've also developed a concept for site assessment. We have a healthy uh, profile base. We're also in the housing delivery, the stock of housing, addressing what the last speaker talked about, which is incremental housing. And in doing incremental housing, we're looking at relationship with microfinance institutions as a way of reaching the people at the lower end of the pyramid. A critical point is also made here about what portion of the population really requires housing. There's an interesting dimension in our experience, which is that a lot of people, and my German brother, talked about German cars. A lot of people who can't afford Mercedes-Benz cars want to drive Mercedes-Benz. But you don't blame anyone for that, and it's natural. The thing with a lot of our population is that a lot of us want to live in houses that are more expensive than what we can afford. And probably they want to challenge. When we go out into the market and we say, within the economics of the Nigerian market, this is a 3 million naira house. Many of the Nigerian population will say, why am I the one who wants to live? And this is on one side. And I also like to stress it up and say, do you know that if you have 5 million to build a house, you have 2 million naira you want to build a house, and you bring two young architects, the one that has 5 million to build a house will struggle. Nigeria's delivery industry is yet to understand how to design for affordable housing. Most of the drawings that come to us, and we spend a lot of time correcting, are over designed and they don't meet the pricing that our public can afford. It takes a lot of energy to convince the developers that they need to scale down. Just sharing some of my experiences and doing to ensure that we fight this fight. I'd like to just say a few things. That I didn't realize how critical housing was until I took this job. I took about 2 years now. I traveled to a challenged part of the country, a village on the border between Kobe and so it's also across. I got the commission 130 houses are built for ID. So the houses are just 2 rooms, but in a compound. The governor came, started reeling out names of widows, people who had lost their husbands, their brothers and sisters to the fight against insurgency. And as the names were going, and old women were coming, and people, and the entire group of women in the village surrounded the group of us. And they raised their hands and they were praying to God. And I was shocked. And I said, for mere mortal, we just know how important the house. And ever since then, I've committed. Family Home Fund commit drive this result. We know that we're in a difficult fight. There are cross-cutting, multi-dimensional, cross-sectional issues. The market is running agog. Inflation is crazy. Exchange rates are crazy. But this is the time in which our society finds itself. We in this room, most of us, especially on the high table, are 50 years plus. If we don't solve it, it will be our shame. We will solve it. We've driven the numbers in 3 years. We've shown it can be done. We're asking everyone to come with us in this fight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sani Yakubu. We've heard from our professors, we have heard from our discussants, we've heard directly from Family Homes Funds Limited, an organization that is actually building. We've heard that no system can be without governance, so we do need the government. And we've also heard that working population of Nigerians is estimated to be 52% of Nigerians, aged between 15 and 64. And these people reported that the low-income earners around them are given land in locations that are accessible and they want houses, not plots of land. And Prof told us that these people, it's not about architects, it's about what they want and the design that they command. And he told us the importance of streets, of air, of light in the design of housing that we give to them, and industrialization so that we put the labor to good use. And Dr. Roland gave us very practical examples of how we can build for them in terms of incremental housing, housing microfinance. He told us some insight into 2.9 million, the gap in Lagos, and how it takes people 5 to 12 years to build, but they do contribute to the housing in Nigeria. And our town planner, in line with what we've heard from Family House Funds, Mr. Sani Abubu, explained to us the impact, location, and taking care of people, widows, how important housing is to everybody. In everything that we've heard, I do hope that we're going to leave here um, with some tips, with insights for those that are working with part of the period to listen. I think some hands just going up. Wasn't going to take questions, but I'll keep this to just 3 questions. And only 2 hands I see up now, so we'll take just those 2. And if there's a woman in the room, I'll make it 3. So let's take a question from you, sir, please. Is there a roving mic?
Thank you, brother. I am Lekwa Ezra, town planner by profession. I will direct my question to the family homes funds. You are thinking of the low income, providing affordable housing for the low. Are you also thinking of the location in terms of transportation costs? Because when you locate these housing estates far away from where the other services are, schools, particularly workplaces, and the person has to do a lot of commuting, the added cost in terms of transportation may end up making that house unaffordable. Are you thinking about that? Are we also thinking about the cost of providing infrastructure? When we start building this, sorry for the language, well, want of a better word, when we are building these match boxes, we are spreading. And we also thinking of infrastructure that will add to the cost of those buildings. Because at the end of the day, it might make it not sustainable. When the cost becomes so high to provide those houses for the people, the government might stop funding the family home fund and will run into trouble. 2 issues there. Location in terms of workplaces, cost of providing infrastructure when we spread these buildings. Wouldn't it have been better to do some high-rise buildings and get more compact settlements? Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So, location and cost. Yes, please. We'll take the questions, all questions now.
Thank you. Mine is actually not a question. Just a few inputs into what has been discussed. The first view that I feel needs correction by everyone. Our problem in Nigeria is not actually poverty of money. Rather, it is poverty of money. And until we change that poverty of money, we are not likely to go further in our policy. First and foremost, why do we Nigerians revel in classifying our people as poor? I can't understand. That people are low income does not make them poor. So we takes us to how have we defined this practice in our own sector. We met low-cost housing, medium housing, and high-cost housing in our lives when we were growing. And practically, those who occupied low-cost housing were the middle class. And the middle occupied by the high, and the high occupied by the rich. So we thought, practically, we should do a high, low, and cost. Let us minimize ourselves to social housing and affordable housing. This takes care of everybody, and it does not discriminate whether you are low, and it eliminates the issue of Nigerians are poor. They fall below poverty level. Who define that poverty level? And it creates a lot of issues for us outside Nigeria. That's why when they see us outside, everybody starts saying those Nigerians are poor.
Until we
Because
come to Nigeria.
yeah, because the the houses in Ikoyi and Abuja, when you go to Canada, it is the middle class that own those houses that we call high value in Nigeria. 100 million Nigeria. How much is 100 million? So, practically, Professor Nuki is there. He got the housing scheme was defined as mixed development. So, what we have is that the low, the medium should live together. That somebody must pay for the other class. It was to be practiced in the government, and the government is still there today as a illegal. But the last is that we should start thinking more now that that social housing or other housing.
Thank you very much. Final question.
Um, what I have is a contribution of protocols observed. I listened to Kiki as the last first speaker spoke. The family man almost conquered my mind, but I decided he will not conquer. But I've said my mind. Um, well, I have always loved to listen, so I with keen interest in that. But I want to move away from moral and what I call moral and issues. When we begin to say the poor should not be taught, or we begin to say they must reside with the rich and all that. In real terms, these things don't work. A hungry man is an angry man, and his neighbor is worth a billion. And you think they can coexist peacefully in that estate? There's a problem somewhere already. So I like asking things from a realistic point of view. I'll give you an example. Years ago, in church, pastors will call out people, line them up to pray for job admission to universities. And I'll sit at the back and I'll be looking at the pastor, anointing them and praying heavily. And in my mind, I will say, a time will come when these pastors will realize that the kind of money the church controls can build lots of universities that will take these children. So that we stop pouring oil and spending so much praying for things that ghosts cannot do, humans must rise up and do. So along the path, I noticed that Living Faith and some others established universities. Some more joined. Big time developers started joining. And today, a lot of these can go to university at 300, 500, 700,000. That means the carrying capacity of Nigerian universities have been increased by human beings doing real things, not just praying. So today, I notice a lot of people have gone the moral and pity lane again. No, let's face it realistically. The poor will not be able to live with the rich. These people may have to move to Nasarawa State close by, where lands are still 200, 500,000. You can even get for 150,000. But I will suggest what I call an integrated system, HTS, where housing, transportation, and security will have to be integrated into a project. What do I mean? I go to Nasarawa, I buy land, and I find that each of the plots on 1,000 square meters squares up to 250,000 naira. I can have 4 people there. Now, even if I take it off up to 300,000, each person is on 75,000 naira. An average serious-minded man who does not spend his money drinking in the evening or over buying fish to please his wife can afford to be in that project. So what next do I do? I add another 75,000 to that deal, and I'm able to probably begin to bring in street lights or a security company. I can go and meet the leader of, I don't want to go too high so that I don't call what they can't afford. But we can go and meet the leader of Keke Riders Association and tell them, look, we are bringing to this location 1,000 civil servants or low income owners, earners, who will be able to commute to Apo or commute to Area 1 or commute to any other place. How do we make sure that transported there? Now let's move to something higher, coastal. Lots of coasters move from Maraba into the city every day. They don't pay more than 200 naira. You can also have them co-share cars. What do I mean? Where one man in the neighborhood has a car, gives a lot to the rest of them, and doesn't charge much as that 200. Some can be done. Company of any project. And from inception, include transportation and crowd for risk. Just like what we were just saying, that the rich from the poor. When you charge the crowd, the fact remains that some will still own their own cars. So even though they've paid, it's just a few people who do not, or maybe 50% of them who cannot afford cars, that actually utilize that facility, but everybody paid. You don't even have to mention it. You know, in Nigeria, when you mention something, you're in trouble. They will keep saying they never use the facility. Why are they paying? But let's integrate housing, transportation, security. People can move as far on our age, to be able to walk here. I would suggest a railway system work where you can vandalize. So I talk about that. They don't vandalize, they catch the people and play. I'm say more than what they arrest me this evening. So we have to still use the roads. Now, how really will any group go to vandalize roads? I wouldn't say the government spends more money expanding the roads so that when people in these far locations get into the roads, they move faster. You understand? So I will stop it there. I have a lot to say, but let me stop. What I'm saying here is co-sharing. What I'm saying is how to security integrated. What I'm saying is stop the pity party, stop the moral story. Let's be realistic. The rich and the poor will not live there. We have to move from step to step. A man grows in seasons and in sizes. You don't force Mr. A who has been sleeping and Mr. B who is not a billionaire to live in the same estate. He will beat him up. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you, sir. I think the last two were contributions, so I would invite um, Mr. Sani Yakub to answer the question from Tom Nekwa.
Um, Thank you very much, my brother. You talked about location in the right place. So family homes funds is also giving various the less. I assure you that in that administration cited those houses in those areas that need to also so we learn from that. If you go to Kebbi, where we're currently seeing 500 houses, and right now the governor finally breaking from a fund that is not coming to him. So he was willing to make that sacrifice. In Bayelsa, where we are currently also negotiating for 500 housing units, the land is surrounded from the four corners by estates already existing. We could appreciate the fact that we could eventually add total and we also appreciate that we need to keep certain distance currently negotiating with the African Development Bank, $60 per student. I'd like to say that we are about 5% sufficient. All those standards we need to meet. One of the things we need to do is get a report on those areas that we want to do. We also do make use of what we call independent project management, where small leads of what is the scalability of housing in this region? I feel compelled to respond to your decision of public housing as my the same commission from the state where a lot of people are living still on top of water and have to drink from the same water where they're facing the housing. They don't want to live back. And that is what I mentioned, cultural trust that we need to know. When you look at what we need to send a people, if we move as a generation, become kind of popular. But for now, what we can turn back and tell the generation that we're living in this compassion. I think that it's very important that we develop a culture of looking at what we have. I just want to put very, very this development of something is a very important part. We're working on our entire value majorly within affordable housing and looking at a portion that allows us to use middle or lower middle as a way of monetizing or in development. And you can look at places like Lagos back of and have within the same area a certain proportion of high income and a certain proportion of low income. And you cross subsidize. I give you an example. You have 100 hectares of land. Let's use 100 hectares of land, right? With low high income. Some percent low income housing. But high end housing will come will bring in funds that can help subsidize the unit to build on low income. Because if you do a duplex, for example, at the high end, and you do a three-bedroom at the low end, you possibly afford so actually in terms of income, very difficult that who I think maybe in the next housing forum will come as resource.
I think many people are thinking the same. Thank you so much, Mr. Sani Yakub. So, Professor Nubi has signaled to me that he has some remarks. I would like to make his remarks the closing remarks. But
Thank you so much.
before that, please, Prof, please, because even I have been fighting, but I hear that these are customers that absolutely want all of us in this room now to listen to them. I would like to invite Afamosa to come up on stage for 3 minutes. 3 minutes, please, and do a product presentation. Afterwards, we will get the remarks from Prof. Nubi, and then I would please be with you to wait behind for pictures, and I will invite the president of Nigerian Institute of Health Planners to join the pictures, as well as Mr. Femi Diwali, who I've seen coming in and out. So hopefully we'll be back during the picture session. Please, if I give your indulgence for a few more minutes. Thank you very much.
Okay, my name is Unine. I am the manager sales and investment for Akobo Investment Limited. I am very well for my CEO, Mr. Abdullah Sisi. I'll be presenting our first real estate project here in Abuja. Joint construction real estate, general contracting and general engineering. But for today, I'll be presenting Mr. the investment. Like, 6 slides, please. This one, then the next is okay. Akobo Multistreaming residency is a project that focuses on well-being living. It's located in Apple. In my boss's words, is the most prestigious 1.2 hectare project in Apple, Abuja. We have 33 units on this 1.2 house for being this project. Our green not traded on the same 1.2 hectare is where the house is located. It's separate. Next one. On this green area, we're going to be having our cycling path and the jogging track. We have the kids play area. We have the yoga platform. I talked about it being focused on wellness and learning. Yoga platform is for your communication. You want to be somewhere that when you're coming back from work and you get off and you off from stress without traffic and enter into the city. We also have an outdoor gym. These other facilities have facilities like our central security control. Next slide. We named our house site after some plants in our estate. All these plants are grown in Nigeria here. This that we call it the veranda is that purple plant you see beside you. We have some features on this house site. Some are general for all our house sites. For instance, the wooden slabs, the brown wooden slabs, they are made of this composite. That's a mixture of wood and plastic. It's plastic. It doesn't cross harsh weather. It remains as is. We also have copper railings. Our window frames are not silver and glass. They are brown or copper. We also have high windows made for natural light. Then outside space. No actually means there's no ceiling on the ground on the second floor. So when you're on the first floor, you can see through or then the top, there's a rooftop now. It's a 3.4 terrace. That's outside. Next slide, please. So I missed something before. That's how the 5 bedroom like I'm out in the water, the ground floor, floor plan. Next slide. Next one. This is our semi-detached house type. It's named after the Izora. It's not the Izora house type is our semi-detached. It's also 5 bedrooms. The same external features. And internally, we have the built in a way that when you access the building, you don't walk in somebody's living room. We have a lot of privacy and space. We also have high windows. Next slide. Next one. This is our 4 bedroom townhouses. The external feature that is different is this as the hollow wall. But internally we have a courtyard. Courtyard is good for you to have relaxing within the museum bathroom. Also, we have a skylight. You can call it a light shaft. Protect everybody that a little for natural light on the courtyard and behind it. In summary, we are trying to build somewhere that is when you get to this open space, not you can jog around the you can cycle around the your kids can be all the house from the staircase and turn to the study box room. So there's whatsoever you want. Thank you so much. Bye.
So thank you, Madam Onyese. Very determined to get value for money. She was not even letting me stop her at all. So please, Alphamosa, visit their stand and invest in the business. Um, I got a whisper in my ear, and I think we need to give to hear a very important piece of statistics. Then Prof. Nubi will close for us.
Thank you for the opportunity. Just less than a minute. I actually have some data here, and it's about home certification. From our records, we have only 71.4% of those who own houses with certificate. So it means a large number of people don't have certificates, and about 13.1% have title deeds, and just 8% have your code. Lagos State is one of the, the highest with 22.7% thereabouts who have C of code. So beyond just providing housing, the documentation must be correct because it's a big challenge now for people to know if you are buying right hand or you're buying the house, and someone doesn't come years after to say, yes, fine. So it's very key. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Odi. And now, Prof, please wrap it up for us.
Thank you so much. I'm not this opportunity for granted. I'm actually compelled to speak after listening to my brother from Fabo. I'm compelled to talk. Then let me start with my sister. I appreciate your comment. Your comment rubbish. China took 15 million people out of poverty, and China is coming almost what leaders to work out. The Bible did not say that poor outside you can. The poor always and poor. I grew up in a village. People were living together. You can never sustain a culture of poverty and expect peace in any nation. That poor people should be put in the plantation and be commuted to the city to just visually enjoy rich and no society can sustain that. But I said something about Mr. Reed yesterday, and sincerely speaking with all my heart, I'm, I'm, I'm inviting you for a master's program in housing development and management. I will pay for it. I'll pay for it. So that and next year, when you come as a resource person, you will have information. You have information. The UK people I made reference to, the Bristol riot of 1986. Look for the land in the hard way in UK. I don't put more people together. And that's what led to the mixed economy that they are running today. I have a friend who was teaching in secondary school in Nigeria. Had a freezer, will never freezer. Put ice block, use it to make ice block. Put it inside his Volkswagen. Sell block on his way to work. Struggling to survive with masters from University of Lagos. The same person on American
lottery, got to America, working in the state of Delaware, under 5 years, bought a house with a swimming pool. What did they do in that society that we can't recreate in Nigeria? That we say we are destined for poverty. Every government must teach the great fire of England in 1801 led London, led the British to submit that if the poor, if the rich, if they have, we have to sustain what they have. They have to give. They have to. What led to the Poor Relief Act of 1801 that every parishioner must put certain money, naira, make from their parish, and that is what we have as tenement rate. That is the issue of tenement rate. The rich people will never end their wealth as long as we think that we can push the poor in a plantation. It doesn't work anywhere, and it will never work. If on family homes, we struggled for years to get that fund, and I'm so glad that part of the advocate of those periods, they were the people, is the person leading family homes, and a large sum of money is there. And the problem I kept on saying in this nation, I said on Channels television, that each time we use statistics to frighten ourselves. Bishop Oyedepo said necessity had always been mother of invention, but necessity has become mother of frustration in Africa. Family homes, each time we say we have 17 million housing deficit, now we increase it. Nobody, we increase it on our own to 20, and we say that 20 million housing deficit, and if is 5 million times 20 million, 1 trillion, government cannot afford it. So housing stay. And I ask a question, very common question: what is the household size in Nigeria? Let's have all our children. Modest, that's 500, the 20 million that we are flaunting. Housing deficit 5 times 20, how much is that? 100 million, and our population is 200 million. So 200 million, how many Nigerians are sleeping on the street? Because we kept on saying that we have 20 million housing deficit. But yes, United Nations is aware that they are not sleeping on the street. The houses at K2, the houses at Karu, the houses at Jota, as long as they don't have a third room, you don't have access to them. United Nations did not count them. The houses at K2, though you build it with marble, and suspect POB ceiling, as long as there is no pipe-borne water, as long as there is no access to the house, United Nations did not count them. That's why we kept on having. So what do? Those houses at Ojota, Maraba, that were not counted because they lack this infrastructure. Let's put infrastructure and bring them. That is a very simple thing we need to do. And that takes us about regeneration. And I've kept on saying that immediately we say housing deficit, housing in Nigeria, we kept on looking at new build. Whereas people are already living in a place that just need little amount. In England today, you just see retrofitting going on every day. Family homes, please. This money, let it go to people that are willing to do house repair.
home improvement of existing facilities. Don't let us concentrate only on new builds. There are thousands of people living at Ebute Metta. All these people, all these new builds, they were the houses that were building far, far away. Many of my staff in University of Lagos, they have houses at Yanopaja, they have at Ayoko, they were still a mansion at Korodu, they were still living in one room at Apoka near to their work. There are so many houses that in this country, in this Abuja and in Lagos, that are vacant. But people are still renting a room and they go over the weekend. All these disconnections are things we must connect. We will say that it is not easy to give money for house improvement. These are the infrastructure we have to consciously and painfully build. It's not existing. Family homes, as a growing up in Ministry of Works and Housing, we had research and development. NITEC used to have R&D. Family homes, where is your R&D? How much in the last 5 years have we spent on research? If we spend money on research, all this unappreciative venture that we're back upon, when you give a house to somebody and he said that you go using effort, but if they are driven by research, we can do this thing. That's the collaboration we'll be talking since morning. University cannot be there, and you are there. Nobody is engaging us to work for them. We have thousands of somebody was telling me here that he see for the first time that Nigeria has gone far to develop technology that life. There's no collaboration between town and gown, and we look like people that are not making efforts. Let's all lock ourselves together in the room and say, this is what I'm doing. Let's promote ourselves. Commission research. It's about research and development. It's about research and development. That's the only way we go. Family homes must not spend the money only on new. No. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prof. That note, we end the session. Please speak directly to Prof. Madam. Please close. Thank you so much. Templar and please join us for the pictures. Thank you. Barrister Festus, please join us on stage. Thank you very much, sir. And if Mr. Dewale is around, please join us. And please, after this, I would really ask please the Prof. Nubi, whose birthday always falls during this AHS show.
Happy birthday to you, Professor Nubi. Professor Timothy B, Director, Research and Innovation Office, University of Lagos, and founder of Ideal Habitat Initiative. May God grant you long life and prosperity. Thank you very much.
We are privileged to have the Director General of African Development Bank, Dr. Barrow, with us. So he will be joining us in the picture before we round up for this session.
Comfort, serenity, luxury. That is why life at the Bridge Peridot feels different. We are everything but ordinary. To us, even the little things matter. the value of communications of your view. And at Hall 7, life is picture perfect. It is what we have built. It is what we are building. So join us at the Imperial Vista as we turn this landscape into a haven of glorious architecture. 7 Real Estate. Deliver value.
Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of day 3 of the 16th Africa International Housing Show. I want to say a very big thank you to all of us who have stayed till the very end and making this session, to me, the most interesting session since the beginning of the AIHS 2022. May God bless you. Tomorrow, final day, we will be our very last session, just one session tomorrow. Dangote Cement will be talking on championing innovations for real estate development in Nigeria. And it will begin at 9:30 a.m. I do crave your indulgence for us to come early so we can be out of here in good time to return for the dinner, which is going to be by. All right, so the gala will be ending the AIHS with Waje. Waje will be here live tomorrow. So if you have your invitation card, you make sure that you're here tomorrow for a good time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Wish you a safe journey back to your various destinations. Thank you. My name is Ben Dodo Oche, and I love you. Good night.
Serenity, luxury. That is why life at the Hall 7 Bridge feels different. We are everything but ordinary. To us, even the little things matter. The value of unity, the significance of your view. And at Hall 7, life is picture perfect. It is what we have built. It is what we are building. So join us at the Imperial Vista as we turn this landscape into a haven of glorious architecture. Hall 7 Real Estate, delivering value.
Hello. Okay, please, for the VIPs, your lunch, I believe our ushers will lead our VIPs to um, the hall where they are having their lunch, just behind this place. And for every other participant, you can go out, get a ticket, and go upstairs, I believe, to have your lunch. Thank you.